Before leaders are elevated for performance, the room is already elevated for their presence. In, in an AI accelerated world, competence may be open the door, but presence decides who is the trusted lead. Leadership and social influences are now the core skills for about 61% of the employees. And as AI changes how authority is recognized, Dr. Ankoor Dasguupta joins us to decode how presence builds trust and judged. Let's welcome, sorry, I really, welcome to Preeminent Conclave. Before we dive into the topic, let's have a small video on Power of Knowing Forum and dive into the topic. Welcome to Preeminent Conclave, and let's dive into the topic bringing Dr. Ankur Dasgupta. Hi, sir. Good evening. Welcome to our podcast. How are you today?
Very good evening, all rocking. Awesome. Life is great. Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
that, sir. Welcome to our podcast. A small intro about yourself, your journey so far in the industry, and about yourself, sir.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Prem, for bringing me in. Secondly, thank you so much for anybody who spends even some time joining this discussion. And it's a great initiative that you're doing. I know it takes a lot to bring in such kind of initiatives, and I love such conversations. My journey in a nutshell, it's been close to now, yeah, 26 years. I'm a I'm a human being who loves music. I've been a musician, and I try to pursue that. Although I become slightly, my riyaz is going down, so I need to bring that up. I play the tabla, by the way.
Okay.
Um, I have been keen on the marketing side and advertising side, although when I earlier started my career, I did not know what it entails, what it means. But primarily, I call myself a learner. I
Mm.
think with the new technologies and marketing ecosystems that have been shaping up, I always every day I feel that there is something new that I can learn. And I always keep telling people who I have conversations with that learning is not only important, applying them is important as well. So that's me learning and applying, failing as well, but failing fast and trying to learn from my past mistakes so that I don't commit the same mistakes more than once. I'm talking literally about myself, not about my accomplishments or the companies that I've worked with. That's available readily on my LinkedIn. But I've been very grateful to have worked with all kinds of companies. When I say that, it essentially means starting from very large multinationals to very large publishing houses to startups to getting my hands dirty and not knowing, not having much information, but to just jumping into the ocean and learning to swim. Like I still remember when we launched Actic in India, it was a core team of 7 people. It's an international IP. I was just handed a half-filled Excel sheet that this is it, and we got to. There's a 7 people team who's going to launch this international IP event in India. We got exclusive license to do that. So that's one of the examples, and multiple failures during my journey, which I feel grateful for because if those failures would have not been there, I would not be here sitting so happy.
Yeah.
Despite of everything, I feel very happy and grateful for what I have achieved and what I'm still achieving, what I'm learning from people, what I'm learning from the ecosystems. And that's it in a nutshell. 26 years has been a roller coaster ride, and I every day feel that today is the first day of my rest of my life. So that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, great to have that insights, because as you rightly said, every day starts as a new day, and that day is a fresh start. It's a clean slate, and you have to start with zero. I think that's the way life is. And to start our conversation, what does presence before performance truly mean, and what does a room begin assessing before a leader presents credentials, evidence, or results?
That's a great question. See, this is not a promotion, but I'm just showcasing this. The book that Dr. Satish and I have finally took close to 2 years to write. This is about the gravitas blueprint. And the way we did this was because we felt there is a real need to come up with this concept in depth, because it's a combination of multiple disciplines, including neuroscience, the quantum side of things, metaphysics, and the way things are um, interwoven along with each other. So, before talking about presence before performance, I would like to also mention that, see, I've worked with multiple organizations that I was saying, starting from GE to Times of India, India Today, Yahoo, Shiros, DDB Mudra. Now I'm the Chief Experience Officer of Garage Collective. I'm also I'm pursuing my ICF uh, PCC, and
Okay.
my forte is leadership and communication coach. Um, so during my practice as well, a lot of things came together from the universe to me. Like, one is my coaching practice, one is the sense of music that I have. It's everything is frequency and vibration, right? At the end of the day. So it's very important to understand that what presence actually means. That to me, and let me simplify it without jargonizing, because in my book there is a lot of jargons that I used, not for the purpose of using those jargons, but for the purpose that it was required to use certain concepts and explain them, that how is like the polyvagal theory and what is the vagus nerve, how it's connected and stuff and all. So uh, presence is nothing to me apart from being in that moment where you are effectively listening as a whole to the person that you're communicating with, and not rushing to speak. That is the first step that defines that whether you'll cultivate that gravitas within yourself. And the gravitas looks like a very fancy term, but and people may use it very loosely. People use the term listening also. I'm listening, but people are actually not listening at times, because listening needs what in Hindi we call as therav. You need that calmness within you to listen to somebody before speaking. But everybody is in a rush. So nobody gives,
Mm.
people think I'm present means I'm present. But everybody's in a rush. Everybody's got to accomplish everything. I need to see like 50 reels in 30 seconds. I need to do this. I need to be informed about this. But nobody's actually grasping. Like, if I do this exercise with a lot of people. I ask them, tell me that one television commercial, that being in this advertising and marketing field, television commercial or one advertisement that you really remember. And people catch hold of those easy ones. I remember Coke, I remember Pepsi, I remember McDonald's. But there are so many beautiful commercials that are being made by so many amazing brands, right?
Yeah.
But people remember only those, because not because they remember, because those are the brands that they know. That's it. So hence presence is being in that moment, like we are engaging in a conversation. You're listening to every word that I'm talking about. And the audience that would have joined by now, they're also probably getting to think that listening in today's world has become a rare commodity.
Yeah.
So that presence is very important, and only then that performance will happen. Performance can't precede presence. That's in a very simplistic and in a nutshell way that I would want to explain.
So, to the audience, I've brought down the link for the book that Dr. Ankoor Gupta has put, Dasgupta has put on link on Amazon. I put a QR here. If you want to have the book, copy of the book, you can have that book onto
Thank you.
You can purchase it and go through it and look at the amazing work that he's been doing. Thank you for that book, Dr. Ankur. So,
Thank you.
coming to the next point, which early signals, composure, listening, clarity, body language, emotional steadiness, or intent most strongly shape whether others trust a leader or
The signals, see, everybody, what I have observed, we get to know the signals, but we ignore them.
not.
Like if for instance, there is an energy that is shifting between, say, me and my friend, or me and some industry person, or even me and my wife also. Like we have an argument over something, and the energy shifts, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And some argument happens, or something is going wrong somewhere. We all know that, okay, this is not right. That signal is always there, but people try and avoid it most of the times to confront that. One of the early signals with respect to leadership, I would say, is number one, have the guts to speak
yeah,
transparently. Now, this I will bifurcate into certain, filter it down. Having guts to speak does not translate into just say what's in your mind. When people say I'm transparent, transparency also needs articulation. Like, for instance, let me give this analogy. If I'm going to the gym, I will wear gym clothes.
mm,
If I'm going for my marathon, I will wear the tracks or whatever I need to wear for my run. I run, not a marathon runner, but I run. If I'm going for a dinner get together and there is a dress code, I'll probably wear a dinner jacket. I would refrain from wearing a tie because I don't like wearing ties. But still, if there is a dress code, if there's a formal gathering, if there's a requirement, I'll wear a tie. If there is a disco that I need to go to, I'll wear clothes accordingly. Or there's a party, so I'll wear clothes accordingly. Likewise, what many people maybe are still trying to understand or not getting it, in my observation, is every environment, every conversation needs that kind of articulation. If you're talking to somebody, for instance, when I schedule meetings with my clients in various sectors, right? I always do a study as to who that person is, what's his or her background, how should I be approaching that person, how should my tone of voice, what should I be talking about, how transparently, if a transparent conversation need not necessarily, as I said, articulate into saying everything. How you say it is very important. Then stating the problem statements also, and how you state. If there is a challenge like I'm facing within organizations, it is very important to understand that there are levels of hierarchy that are there. Since I work with multinationals, so and place I work right now, Garage Collective, it's an amazing place to work in. It's a complete freedom that we give. It's an open culture, and that's what I love about this place, including our founders, Saurabh and Anjali. They're wonderful people, and the team that we work with. However, having this extensive experience, thankfully, I've got that opportunity to understand that people everywhere are different. Hence, there are trainings on conflict management. How do you manage a conflict? How to work with difficult people. There's a book by Anna Hakim which I've read twice. A wonderful book. Uh, because these are realities of life. What happens when you enter a boardroom? How do you enter that? Do people pay even attention to, or do they need to pay attention to your style of entry, the way you enter? What do you carry with you, even before you speak? So, those signals are very important to catch when you're communicating with somebody, be it a peer, be it a leader, be it in a forum, be it in a gathering, be it in a team. That's where presence comes into the picture. And that's where coherence of yourself comes into the picture. It all boils down from awareness of self. And there are some people who I speak with, who I coach, and the initial discussion is one of the questions I ask: how self aware do you think you are? And There are some of them who say that I am very self-aware, and that's where that's where the problem lies. You already there. You're perfect. You are very self-aware. You know everything, and that's where the problem lies. And when I drill down with my root cause analysis, I get to know. I mean, they get to know themselves, and they speak it themselves, because coaching is something which I don't guide them. I just ask questions, and at the end of it, it's like, oh, I think I don't know this about myself. I think I don't know this. There are multiple things you don't know about yourself. So it is all, as I said, multiple disciplines and interwoven. If it was that easy, then I would have had a formula. Although there are certain equations that we have worked on, which we have not brought into this book because of reasons that we are thinking about getting them patented. But yes, it is complex, but it is only that much complex as we make it. And my final submission on this question is, see, human beings, again, I'm a very keen observer of human nature. So I have observed that, including myself, that during a point of time, we always have a tendency, inclination towards making things slightly complex. We enjoy that complexity. We love it. You know? Rather, in organizations today, and even when I speak with my 8-year-old daughter, she simplifies things for me so well. And I love that. That if we can simplify a particular thing or a particular discussion or a conversation or a concept, then it becomes much easier for you to be present and to also be coherent and comprehend and get to know yourself better.
I think one point I would like to add here is, as you said, you've learned from my daughter. There are so many things I've learned from my daughter, right? So I have two daughters, and both are amazing kids. Uh, One thing what I understood is you need to go to their level and speak, and
Oh,
if
yes.
you keep an eye to eye contact, and this I learned when I was part of Wipro. Okay,
Mhm.
if you want to talk to anybody, go to their level, look at eye to eye, and then talk. I think the conversation becomes very simple.
Yes.
And you also mentioned one pointer where you said you don't need complex things to happen, right? Or it should be simple. On the technology world, it is always told is technology is simple, we have complicated it. So if you look at the real technology, what is a laptop to be done is to have certain applications processed, but we have a network protection, then we have a virus protection, then we have something else as a protection. So
Oh, yeah.
we are putting so many complexities before it touches the internet, right? The same way goes to the large enterprise systems that are there. The systems are plain systems, but how you want data to be protected, how it is to be complied to compliances is
Yes.
getting complex because of the requirements, and technology is again very simple. That's the statement I would like to add, because when you want to, as I'm a project manager, I would say this: we know something called as work breakdown structure, right?
Yeah.
Which means you need to break it down to a stage where you cannot further break it down. So that's
Mhm.
the stage where you think this is the end and that's the ground, you cannot further break it down.
Yeah.
So if you are able to break down a issue into that statement, and I would like to add my boss, who was Mr. Sanjay Shah. He always used to say, अगर आपके पास एक प्रॉब्लम है, उसका हल 30% आज कर सकते हो, आज करो,
Correct.
कल यू विल हैव 70% रादर देन 100%.
Hmm.
कल करते वक्त आपको 50% का सोल्यूशन मिल सकता है, बिकॉज यू डन समथिंग, यू फाइंड अनदर आंसर.
Hmm.
So effectively on the third day, you are left only with 20%, which is a great achievement, is what he used to always say. And that I've learned from him, very hard coded today. Now
Hmm.
you ask me a question, somebody says, what do you want? His first question was, what do you want?
Hmm.
Agar, if you are saying that can be solved, there would be always three pointers. What is the cost?
Hmm.
What is the time? and what is the resources needed to have them.
Hmm.
So all three things, if you are able to give, I'll give you that approval. He used to give me that blank approval saying that ये तीन चीज आप बता सकते हो, 3 महीने लगेगा, 4 रिसोर्स चाहिए, 10 लाख लगेगा. So over
See,
story. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. And he'll say 3 महीने के बाद 1 पैसा नहीं दूंगा.
True.
So that presence, when you said this topic, when why presence before performance is the executive signal for most of the leaders that miss this point,
Hmm.
I only thought of that person because he used to say every time we had a discussion, he used to say,
Hmm.
आज मैं हूं, कल मेरी जगह में तुम रहना चाहिए.
Hmm.
If you are able to understand what I am doing, I think you are a problem solver. Then I'll take my next step and you come to my seat. I'm okay to give you that seat. He always has been a great person for us to look at, and we used to call him Tiger of Wipro. We used to handle about 600 odd projects on the region, and you go talk to him, you will feel the aura, and you will say, "ये बंदे से बात करने से हल हो जाता है." So that's the kind of impact he had. Making that pointer of a simple point, I gave you this big story actually to tell you, Dr. Ankur, on
See,
this.
I'm
So,
so glad that I could remind you of somebody.
yeah,
This is why I love conversations.
yeah, wonderful. So, how can leaders ensure their presence reflects substance and credibility rather than status, appearance, and rehearsed confidence?
Okay, let me try and simplify this. It's a great question. Um, you asked how can leaders just repeat once
Ensure
more.
their presence is reflects as a substance,
Substance, yeah.
right?
The presence.
And credibility rather than I am this, I appear like this, and I am doing something as a text and I am reading it out.
Right. See,
That confidence.
it's a combination. If I got to simplify this without, again, I'll kind of de-jargonize everything. I'm not using any of the theories and complex words from the book because then it'll only make it more complex because
Yeah.
that's speaking without context because I have, written the book because I am aware of these things, but the audience may not be.
Hmm.
So some of the things that I would keep in mind is who am I speaking with?
Yeah.
Um, Number two is being genuinely humble, the humility aspects. See, people say a lot of things like when we tell children, focus on your studies, but nobody tells how to focus.
True.
ओ बच्चे को कैसे पता होगा कि वो फोकस कैसे करेगा फोकस वर्ड ही उसको फोकस का कैसे कर बट दैट डिस्कशन नेवर हैपेंस
Hmm.
डू आई नीड टू टेक 3 deep breaths if yes then what is that technique how do I concentrate because when I was I'll combine few things together because this is a excellent question. See, people say meditate, do meditation. Do people ask themselves that what comes before meditation? It is concentration. How do you develop that concentration? So people talk about big words, but
Hmm.
people don't say or talk about how to.
Yeah.
There are people who talk about that. There are people who have started doing that, and there are various ways. But in the corporate culture, it really happens, right? People say brainstorm, think out of the box. People
Hmm.
don't realize or recognize the fact that inside the box is a brilliant thing that we have. If we are using even 30% of our brains, it's an amazing magical tool, power tool that we have within ourselves. So one of the things is listening to what you are saying to the other person, listening to yourself, not debating just for the sake of debating. When we say don't get defensive, for instance, and I'm talking real examples from the corporate world. Before getting defensive, people should try and comprehend that where is this root cause of this discussion coming from, and there is a fear involved in many of the discussions, fear of being judged, unconscious biases that you develop. So when we are talking about these aspects, it is very important to start, as I said, and I always say that, as I mentioned, starting from becoming more self-aware, that why am I thinking like this? Who am I talking to? Is my body language, and there are various workshops on body language, the pitch of your voice, the tone of your voice. I'm very grateful that during my initial years of my journey, I got trained 1 month, uh, and I still remember the name of the trainer. Her name was Barbara. When we were in Australia on the job posting, we were there for about 6 months in Melbourne. We were doing 1 month of training in phonetics and voice training, which we call as soft skill.
Soft skills.
Soft skills. And I completely disagree with communication, or this aspect being a soft skill. It's one of the toughest skills to develop. People want to wash your eye by saying communication is a soft skill. You can learn that
Mm.
anyway. You just join a workshop and you learn communication. I can challenge anybody that you can learn an AI tool in 1 day, but communication will take you ages to learn because there are so many nuances involved. Where to take the pause, where to listen, how to not judge, how to consume the other person with respect to their vibe, their aura, their personality. Because when you're working with different people, different leaders, first it's important to recognize that everybody is different set of protoplasmic content. Everybody's DNA is different, upbringing is different, childhood was different, right? So once we recognize that, there's the first barrier. We dive straight into that point. Oh, there's the person, and we start forming that perception. This person must be like this. This person must be like this. I don't like this person, or oh, this is a great person. I want to sit with that person. Where does this come from?
Mm.
It has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So hence, I would say few things. Listening to yourself first, because everything boils down to yourself. If you are open to really sitting with a person and understanding the mindset of a person, and not really hell-bent on saying that how your mindset is, but giving that time and that importance to the other person's mindset first, and then saying that if the frequency is like, there are situations where the frequency matches, like let me give you an example. We go to a party, right? One of my friends called me to a party, their marriage anniversary, and he called about 50 odd people, 50, 55 at his home. Big house and lot of people. Within like the first 15, 20 minutes, we see, and I've seen this in most of the gatherings that I go to, there are three, four people in every corner
Mm.
finding their match and frequency. Oh, I gel out with you, so this person understanding me. Oh, I have a pain point to share with this person. Oh, his pain and my pain is the same, so I will talk to. Oh, his happiness or her happiness and joy, my joy is the same, so I will talk to this person. And the whole evening, those three or four groups are segregated, and that's why I kind of stopped going to these gatherings, because the whole idea of having 50 people is being with them,
Mm.
not if I need to be in that separate groups. And that's why when I do this, I go anywhere, my objective is getting to know as many people.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, uh, to answer your question, I think listening to oneself before gauging the other person or forming a perception of that other person is one of the keys where this thing starts from.
Got it, Dr. Ankur. So, what we are also saying, we are talking about the signals that may include whether a leader appears grounded or anxious, right? So, that's one way we should look at whether they listen before responding, which you said just now. Listening is a art, I think, where people don't want to listen, but they want to respond before they even listen what the communication comes. Whether their words have a direction, I think many people don't have a direction because they want to add a context to something of a discussion, they add it, right? So that's how I think few things that we see are happening. And coming to our
Hmm.
next question that I want to ask, why do many technically capable, experienced, and high performing leaders still struggle to create an executive signal that others recognize and trust.
Oh, again, a great question, Prem. See, they don't fail. I don't say that they fail. It's just that people don't maybe consciously are aware of this fact that there is something that like this exists.
Hmm.
So this book, The Gravitas Blueprint, also explains that when a leader's thoughts, emotions, physical expressions, communication appear aligned, then observers experience what neuroscience calls as low prediction error.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm avoiding to use any jargons, because when we use jargons, it becomes very people get bored, right? So then in this low prediction error, everything seems to fit together. The body senses consistency before the intellect consciously explains it.
Yes.
So conversely, when words communicate, say, confidence, while the body is broadcasting anxiety or internal conflict, people detect the incongruence. I mean, almost immediately. So that trust weakens, I would say, uh, before the evidence has been gathered. So, hence, this is also why our book distinguishes gravitas from charisma.
Hmm.
Entirely separate things, interconnected, interwoven, but separate things.
Okay.
People at times people say that this is, oh, he's a charismatic leader, he's a lot of gravitas.
Yeah.
It can be both gravitas and charisma. It rarely happens. So they don't fail, I would say. It's just that they don't conscious. Number one, they are not aware that such a thing may exist.
Hmm.
That I can also do it.
Yeah.
So let me share my example. Most of the years during my childhood, till my childhood, school days, maybe until almost college days as well, I thought I was an introvert. I have no idea why I thought that. I had no idea. But I always thought I was introvert. Maybe somebody told me, my parents must have told me, somebody must have told, or I made a perception about myself. On the contrary, I always knew that I love taking the stage. I love camera. So this kind of was a dichotomy. I was like, if I am outgoing enough to love camera and stage, how can I be an introvert?
Hmm.
So then I started talking to myself and gathering that information about myself. That why is this happening? Why am I thinking like that? So then I got the answer that I love staying reserved, and I love being with the people that I'm connected to by heart and mind both. So as my career journey went up, my number of friends went down. The so-called Facebook friends are not friends. Right? There are three friends that I have, like from my childhood specifically, and those three friends, at a phone call, they will, you know, just do anything. Just ask. I mean, those kind of friends I've earned. So, to arrive at your answer in a nutshell, I feel that people need to be more self aware on the terms that it can be cultivated. So, the book talks about cultivation, that gravitas, cultivating this presence, cultivating, your presence in the boardroom. This is all possible. Only thing that you have to, and even senior leaders, with the I coach senior leaders and at the CXO level, there are problems in
Hmm.
trust issues. There are problems in getting weak in the boardroom, not knowing how to tackle that, and which is absolutely normal.
Yeah.
But at least you should know that this is an area which I would want to improve or kind of gather. So that starts from gathering evidence about yourself to know that what is incongruent, and then take it from there.
I think I'll add another question to what you said at the moment. Most of the time, you made two pointers, which are in a group. There are always few people who are going in one direction or one place, and they are discussing, which are one groups. And uh, few people who think they perceive themselves but they are not, right? So that's the point that I want to. What disconnect commonly exists between how leaders perceive themselves, how and how colleagues, teams, or boards actually experience them?
I kind of lost your voice in
Yeah,
between, so if
I'll
you want to
repeat.
just.
So what disconnect commonly exists between how leaders perceive themselves, right, and how colleagues, teams, or boards actually experience them?
So both are absolutely interwoven, interrelated. Most of the dissonance arises when um, you don't know how to approach the situation, because there are unique situations that arises at different points of time. You meet unique people. Like I was saying about, say, when we combine, how do I put it, gravitas with respect to um, say charisma and confidence, right? So charisma will capture your attention, and gravitas will capture your, it will create your confidence, right? So the framework, if I can try and quote something about the gravitas field framework that we have written about, it proposes that leaders continuously shape a functional field of subconscious emotional influence around them. So through that co-regulation, the mirror neuron resonance, as we may call it, and effective neuroscience, which is deeply involved in that, a regulated leader can unconsciously, I would say, stabilize the psychology of others. It's like driving
Yeah,
unconsciously. I can listen to music, I can do something, I can, talk to somebody. The unconsciously competent,
yeah,
that I would call it. When I talk about the Johari window, that part comes in. Sorry, taking the tangent from there. Then calm comes. It actually becomes contagious. Your calm transfers to the other person. Like you would have seen, when somebody yawns, you also feel like
yeah.
yawning.
True,
Right?
true.
It's contagious, right? It happens. I don't know how it happens, but there is a neuroscience behind it. So then clarity spreads through that group, right? The leader's internal coherence becomes a shared organizational resource. So that's where I think a lot of leaders or the people who are stepping into that senior level have to kind of need to talk to themselves on what are the different styles of leadership. What is a performative leader? Like a performative leader may initially create a strong impression. Let's take an example. But if internal coherence is absent, the inconsistency will eventually become visible, right? So that our book repeatedly argues that performative goals, with respect to gravitas, is kind of, I would say, brittle, because it relies on image rather than integration.
Yeah,
But authentic gravitas, by contrast, um, becomes stronger over time, because behavior continuously reinforces the initial perception, right? So it is, as I said, it is not that easy to cultivate, or one has to consciously work towards that framework. And that's one of the reasons why we wrote this book, because the people who are, say, moving on from a VP level to a CXO level, or a senior VP level, executive VP level, or moving into the boardroom, the book doesn't talk on the surface level. It talks at the bottom of the iceberg.
yeah,
How it actually happens, why it happens, and what do you need to do to cultivate that. We talk about bunch of things around civilization also. There are certain chapters which I can read out. So chapter 4 is on cultivating gravitas practices of nervous system grounding and gravitas presence. Then chapter 7 was emotional maturity redefined through the lens of gravitas.
mm,
And then chapter 8 is one of the chapters where Dr. Satish and I found very challenging to write, because we wanted to include this, but we did not know how to write this. It was about the civilization infrastructure.
okay,
Infrastructure, as in not just the infrastructure, but the nuances of it. That how civilization also plays an important role in cultivating that. But I hope I kind of answered
Yes,
your question
yes,
in
yes.
some way. These questions can't be answered in one sentence,
No,
objectively. It will be very
I think
not doing
no,
justice.
I think what we are seeing here, Dr. Ankur, is that we are seeing the presence to be felt when a leader or a person is there around us, right? That the aura that he brings, or the crowd he's managing, or what the team that he's managing. It always is about how you navigate between that team, is what I think we are giving a sense there, where people should look at, and how to carry themselves is what we are saying. Why presence before performance is what the emphasis is clearly going there, is what I see from what you are telling. And this cannot be told, as you rightly said, in one sentence, saying that you do this, this is going to happen. It does not happen like that. That's what I'm coming to understand. And there are people who do so many things to make it perfect, right? And how do over preparation, perfectionism, excessive detail, and need to prove expertise weaken a leader's presence?
See, overdoing anything, Brahim, I think it is not right. So, um, where do I start from? Okay, again, let me try and
Yeah.
crispify it. There's a thin line between thinking and overthinking. Like we say, oh, you're overthinking right now. Oh, no, I'm not overthinking. No, you're overthinking right now. Just go ahead and do it. In leadership, there is a concept that we follow, and one of my earlier bosses told me this. Let's see, you're sitting as a leader, you're sitting at the top of the branch, you're having a panoramic view. You can see where the army is coming from, attacking you. You have that
Yeah.
view. People don't have that. Right. So when you have that view, you will have certain things from your experience, from your gut, um, that this is the decision that I need to take right now. This is the instruction that I need to give my people. If you feel you are even 75 to 80% there, take the call. You can't be, because anybody, for success to happen, if I take a blanket term as success, for success to happen for anything or anybody, number one thumb rule is you have to be faster than others. This is my observation. You have to be faster than others. uh, it is, we are sitting at an era where there are a lot of things that are happening with respect to technology. And you know, earlier in advertising there used to be copywriters, right? Now we copywriters don't know what to do because there are tools to do that,
Yeah.
right? But still, that human intervention is very important, because you can use something for leveraging it in a certain way, but don't become a slave to it.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a tangent a little bit off the track from here, because these are all again interwoven. But sorry, your original question was, Prem, just so that I don't digress too much.
Yeah. I'll read the question again for you, sir.
Huh,
How,
just
how do
one step.
over preparation, perfectionism?
Over preparation. Got it, got
Yeah.
it. So now what happens is, most of the times when we are in this cycle, we are overthinking about something. Ideally, we keep thinking and say that let's sleep over it and decide tomorrow. And then tomorrow we say let's think some more about it. So I would like to say that there is no end to
Yeah.
thinking. Right. If you feel, so there is it's a combination of data and feeling. I don't understand people who say data is telling this, so go ahead with it.
Hmm.
But do you feel you need to go ahead with it? You are also a leader, an experienced person. You have a gut, and gut is the solar plexus, is the place where everything starts. And that's the neuroscience and metaphysics aspects of it. When people start reflecting on their gut, a lot of decisions will come on their own as right. Just go ahead with it. But many people don't believe in it.
Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why this book explains this whole ecosystem. That where does trust crop up from, and why does that trust just disappear in a jiffy? How does it happen? So over preparation is okay in certain cases where you feel the need, like let's be over prepared in case something happens once in a while. That's okay. Case to case basis. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're basing your life, if the pattern becomes that everything I will over prepare, but you're not knowing that you're over preparing, you think you're preparing, right? That's where the problem starts, because the other person from the other end will observe, oh, this is overthink, there's so much of information, so much of over preparation, this was not required. In interviews earlier, I was asked, in earlier days, I used to go for interviews and one question, then I used to go all over the place,
Hmm.
answer everything. Oh, इसको सब बता देते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ आंसर तो मिल ही जाएगा. It was like a doctor who treated my mom-in-law, right? So my mom-in-law went with a problem, and me and my wife went with a, and the doctor gave this polythene slip where he put like 10 to 12 tablets and said ये उनको ये खिला दो, actually 10 to 12, pink, yellow, white, and we kind of had a laugh कि ये डॉक्टर कैसा है कि उसने मतलब 10-12 मेडिसिन दे देते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ तो
Right.
काम कर ही जाएगा, है ना? So I take real examples from real life, that if you're clear, and that's where coherence comes,
Hmm.
presence, coherence, presence. So now I'm compiling everything together. How do you have coherence? If you're coherent about clarity of thought, जिसको हम बोलते हैं, what you need to do, most of the times, or many a times I've observed, you're not clear about what you need to do, but you still say, ah, I'm clear. And the next morning, again, the meeting happens, this question I had, why didn't you ask yesterday?
No, I have
Right?
one another mentor of mine who always used to say, when you're done with the discussion, right, you need to do one summarization session, right? So
Absolutely.
he taught me one thing in most of the meetings when I used to do as a program manager. I used to jump in the middle and say, no, 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 that is not right. So I have a pointer here and stuff like. In 2 3 meetings when he was with me, he was from the customer resource relations group. We called it the CRG at that time. So he used to head the CRG, and he came to me with me for 2 projects, and he said, "प्रेम एक चीज है जो आपको समझना चाहिए." So I said, his name is David Matthew. He said, when a discussion is going and you have a point, note it down. Don't talk. Just note it down and put a name who spoken this point, right? Or who's asked. And once everybody is done, if you have 5 people or 10 people in the room, you note these points. This is the point where I have to give an answer, or I am entitled to give that response. Note them. Once everybody is spoken, then you ask a question saying that you'll start with, hope everybody has raised their points. First point. Anybody says no and they have a point, still ask them to tell that point. Second point, summarize who said what. Sir, I had this problem. So Mr. X said this, Mr. Y said this, Mr. Z said this, A was this. Then relate that to your project. Sir, as per the scope, this is not part of the scope. As per part of our engagement, we need to add this because this came in the last minute, which is a change request. So give that pieces, and if there is something that you have to get back to them, say, I will take 3 days, go back to the team and revert through your mail. So he will also emphasize mail in the government is hard copy mail. So be very clear on mail. Now you should say, I will send an email with the document attached. So he gave me certain pointers I follow,
Precise.
precise points.
Precise.
And in the meetings, he will say that 30%, 20%. This Sanjay Shah and Sanjay Shah used to take the delivery role. This guy was the pre-sales and customer relations group. Both had the same thought process. And they said, काम करना है तो either you deliver it or you get a customer, the fundamentals remain the same. Right? So you have to get your pointers clear, articulated, and presented very clearly once you heard everybody speak. So amazing learning from them. So One last question because we are on top of that.
Hmm.
What?
No, no, I'll just add to what you just
Yeah,
said. These days, and it's funny, these days people are using more of things like I'll deliver you by end of day, EOD,
OD. Yeah,
right? EOB, and I asked somebody what is EOB, end of
end of
business
business.
day. I said, okay, so EOB, end of week. So I have never believed in this concept. I always am a believer. Give it time. To give it time, you need to have guts. You need to be believing yourself that this is the time. Under commit and over deliver is the one thing I learned in my first job. People have out here reverse that thing.
No, he used to
Sorry, I had
tell
to add this.
also, that's the point that I'm trying to also tell Dr. Ankur is that आपको जवाब देना है इस पर्सन को. You specify, I'll take 2 days because I have to talk to the team. That also is fine.
Exactly.
Buy-in from both sides. You take buy-in from
Exactly.
the customer, buy-in from the team, which you need to communicate for 2 days, which I'll give you a response. And during one of the meetings, there was an escalation, and I went with one of Sanjay Shah's reportee. His name was Ashok Pandey. I went with him
Hmm.
for an escalated meeting, right? And we went in there. The customer first point was, oh, another PMO guy has come. Okay. So what
Hmm.
change is going to do? He'll not do anything. So we both were looking at each other's face. हम यहाँ पे problem solve करने नहीं आए हैं, समझने आए हैं पहले. So he
Hmm.
got up and he said, sir, first point, don't get offended. I am here to understand because you've landed into a problem. First, I need to understand your problem, then I can solve. If I don't understand, I cannot solve your problem. The first statement. Second is, I will not give a commitment saying that tomorrow I'll solve your problem. I need to understand what is caused this problem, by what is the magnitude we are affected, and how much time I need to rectify this problem is what I am going to come back to you. Don't expect me a solution at the moment. I'm giving you a plan.
Hmm.
So amazing pointers I've learned with about 4 or 5 mentors in Wipro. I think amazing. I owe all my success of Wipro's career of 13 years to these people. Amazing learning.
I agree.
Amazing learning.
I agree.
So one last question. What should a capable leader change when work receives appreciation, but they are still excluding from strategic conversation and larger responsibilities?
And this is for the team,
Yeah.
you're saying. Team. Change is a part of life. But I feel that my in my observation, and I'm not talking about the book out here or anything, concept from here. There are two kinds of changes. One change that you need to bring in drastically because of damage has been done. You need to bring that change right there and right then. But most of the changes need to be seeped in a manner that people accustomed to it, understanding that why this change is required. The people don't at many a times get to the root cause of why. What if we don't do this change?
Mm.
They're asking this question. What if we just leave it status quo or don't do this change right now? We'll do it after 5 days. What happens? So these kind of things the leaders need to ask themselves first. When we are at a decision making chair, I always ask this question to myself: if I don't do this today, what is the impact? And if I need to bring in this change, how do I communicate? To me, everybody in the team is a stakeholder in business. Everybody is contributing indirectly or directly to a business, right? So, with my direct reportees and with my team also, it is very important to understand. And wherever I have worked, I've always learned this thing from the leaders that I've worked with. Get clarity on the task, like you mentioned. Get clarity on what needs to be solved. If there is a change required, then what will that change solve in the next 1 year? Don't look at 5 years. What will that change solve in the next 1 year? Be it a change in the team, be it the change in the way we approach business, be it a change in the process that we are operating. So these, I would say, to simplify it, 3 4 questions we need to ask, the what we call in coaching as the 5 whys. For every question, you ask a why. So, for instance, I say, I need to bring in this change. Why? I get the answer, then I ask why
Yeah.
again. And it's a very difficult exercise to do that five
Five eyes.
whys.
Yeah.
So when we do that, and for us, it's become very easy because I keep on practicing this since a long time now. But it's still I get stuck at times. At the third why I get stuck. Oh, now what do I do? Because but I push myself to get to know the five whys because when I'm at the end of it, I exactly know why this is required and what if I don't do this. So they're very simple, but these simple things are very complex for people because people don't want to invest time. People want everything to happen at the blink of an eye. Oh, this is because it's the quick commerce era, right? People will click an order. I used to wait for 1 year to get a ball from my grandfather. Oh, he will give me this. We will get to the market and buy me a pair of jeans or a ball or a small gift or a fountain pen. Now people have everything is fast. So not anybody's mistake, but it's the thing that is happening now today.
Thank you for this, Dr. Ankur. I've listed out few pointers that I have taken as takeaways that we want based on whatever we've discussed so far in the last 50 minutes now. Now, presence precedes the performance conversation, right? That's the first point that we want to look at. People begin interpreting credibility, composure, and leadership intent before results, qualifications, or evidence are fully represented. That's the first point that I want to add. Sustainable executive presence combines clarity and the point that you said, listening plays a bigger role here, and listening, emotional steadiness, because people tend to get emotional to a point and they get uh, attached to it and they get offended also at times. That's judgment and accountability. It must never be a substitute for capability, right? So that's the second point that I, when outcomes are uncertain and unfavorable, credible leaders acknowledge reality, remain composed, accept accountability, and create clear path forward. That's the three pointers that I have as a takeaways that we wanted to look at. Uh, with this, Ankur, if you have any other pointers that you want to give to the audience as a final pointer before we close, over to you.
Absolutely. First of all, again, thank you so much again, and thank you to anybody who would have joined even for some time. Um, I would say that what I mentioned earlier, gravitas is something which every leader of any mindset can cultivate. And leadership is also a journey, and it's a mindset as well. And that's why we talk about personalities, various kinds of leadership styles. So at times, when I was having this conversation with one of my industry friends, that servant leadership is can we do only servant leadership because my style is servant leadership? Is it? Absolutely. If you feel that it's working out with your team and your C-suite, it's absolutely fine. But if you want to draw a straight line to that, like, no, I will only be a servant leadership, right? Like, I'm a tabla player, so I give the example of Ustad Zakir Hussain. He knew every gharana, almost every. Farakabad gharana, Agra gharana, Banaras gharana. I'm Banaras gharana, by the way. But he knew every gharana style and he improvised his own style of playing percussion. Now, to be good at what you do or be it excellent at what you do are two different ballgames. If you really want to be excellent at what you do and pursuit of excellence, like becoming better, get better at getting better. And again, one of the books I going back to by Chandramouli Venkatas. So that piece is very important in a nutshell. That striving for excellence, you need to develop all forms of styles and leadership. And for that, you need to, again, everything boils down to yourself, that what do you want to accomplish. Do you People say some leaders say I'm a people's person. I also say
Yeah,
that I'm a people's person, but it's a blanket statement, right?
yeah.
You have to drill down certain levels and then uh, get better in cultivating that gravitas, where when you enter a room full of people, it is not about respect or anything. It is about people are like, wow, there's something going to happen. right?
Yeah.
If Jeff Bezos enters a room, or Elon Musk, or Jack Ma, or even a prime minister of any country. I mean, I'm just taking, or any saint for that matter. If a
Yeah.
saint enters, there is this vibe, there's this energy field, and I'm not talking about much nuances about how, the heart. There is a field that heart radius even before our mind does. There is a 8 feet distance that the heart covers. Um, you know, I mean, a little bit, maybe more. That's the reason why it happens that when somebody enters from a distance, you're like, you feel something. That there is a science behind it. So we are not talking about that right now, but yeah, I mean, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining. I would recommend, if somebody is interested in this concept, do read this book. It's available globally on Amazon. It's interesting, but it's a heavy book, so take your time to read.
So I'm bringing up the QR there if you want to purchase it. So it is it's the link to the Amazon. When you click on it, you go to the book to purchase on Amazon. Thank you for that, Dr. Ankur. Thank you for bringing up together leadership, coaching, communication, stakeholder experience, and board level perspective to help and us examine an executive capability that is often felt immediate but rarely understood deeply. So I think that's the point. The central message for today's conversation is powerful, where we say the present should never replace performance, but without presence, the performance may be remaining unseen, misunderstood, inefficiently trusted. Right? I think that's the pointers that we would like to take. And thank you for joining us today. It's been great having you today on our podcast. And it's thank you for making this podcast 381 episode successfully
It's
delivered.
my
And
my privilege.
yeah, thank you to the audience as well. Good day, and see you on next
Thank you so
Wednesday
much.
on another podcast. Thank you.